Everyone wants bigger trunks like this one on this big Fuji cherry. And there's only two ways to get trunks like that. You either buy it with it already there, or you put it in the ground and put it into what we call growing beds. Actually, there's a third method. You wait a really long time till it eventually gets that big. But you know, big trunks, it's not the only reason to put them into growing beds. You may also be looking to do some wound healing on some really major trunk chops. The only way you can do that is if you can get really big, thick growth, or you're looking to get a broader, better root structure perhaps. But guess what? This time last year, I put a number of my trees into development, into a growing bed to see just how effective it was. And I'm really glad I did, because we're going to now see that 12 months worth of development from start right through the year. But guess what? Not only do we get to see the development, we're also going to get a special guest appearance from Jelle of GrowingBonsai, who's got two very important things to remind us all when it comes to using growing beds. If that appeals to you? Keep watching. Hi, it's Xavier and welcome to my bonsai retreat. We're actually in the nursery bed area of the garden. So this growing bed here, I dug it all over this morning. It's been dug over for a couple of years, and normally I've just had trees just sitting on there in their pots, which might just as well have concrete bases, to be fair. What I have done is all of last year's and the years before old bonsai soil, which again was heavily organic anyway, I've mixed it into the bed. So this should hopefully be an ideal growing medium for developing new roots. Now we're going to start laying probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, possibly 7 trees all get put down here. I'll be using slate plates, which will be put on, a little bit of soil over the top, tree will go down, and then we'll let the roots go and see how they get on. The first tree I'm going to be returning to the growing bed is this, which I believe is English Elm. In a great big pot like this. I think you might have seen me do a trunk chop on it last year, but I need these branches to grow nice and thick, and I want it to do them quite quickly. Now it's difficult because I don't know how far out these are going to grow, so I am going to go down a little bit of depth. Again, just make sure I've got a reasonable amount of decent soil. What I am going to do is default it to this side so that I can get behind with the shovel if needs be. Okay. Nice and soft. There we go. Bit of mud in there, but plate to put it on. Bit of soil over the top. Just have a look and see what sort of roots we had on there. We've got some roots there. And it actually looks like we were getting a nice radial spread anyway, but I'm spreading these out. I had removed all the big ones, which is a bonus. And all we need to do is, in essence, that is the English Elm. Let's see what happens to it, shall we? This next one we're going to do is a linden or a small leaf lime. Again, they grow really fast, they back bud really well, but I want to see some major development on this. See how this one comes out. What I will point out is, as I say, we are now in the first week of April. Perhaps if it had been a month earlier, I might have had a little look at the roots. To be fair, this is quite fine root growth anyway, but I want to do as little disturbance as I can, apart from getting them out in the right sort of direction. Okay, well, that's the linden in. The next one that we're going to be doing is this prunus. This got dug up 4 years ago and really has done little or no healing, partly because I kept pruning back too low and it really just never got the chance to gain some energy, and two, because I was asking a lot of it, to be honest. So here we go. So we can see what that. Now this one has got some interesting roots on it around here. I'm not going to do anything with those right now. And I can see, I mean, a lot of these roots, to be fair, that's quite rotten. That's the prunus in. Whew. Got 2 more to do. Sun glare is awful now. Got another English Elm, and I've got this this beech, which, remember I did the trunk chop on last year. Well, I want to get a lot of decent development on this year. So let's get these 2 in. Let's get this beech in. Okay, there's definitely not loads of growth there. Let's get it in. Okay, well, there's 5 trees in. Lots of gap. There's at least a foot between each set of roots. So hopefully I should be able to get to see some good root development, and we're going to watch them through the season and just see how much growth we actually get. So this will be a really interesting experiment, and just to see what sort of difference we've got, because I'm going to keep 2 of them that I was going to plant in their containers. This one's going to stay in its container. That one's going to stay in its container. But I think I'm going to plant this larch up. Okay, well, surprise, surprise, I ended up putting both of these, the hornbeam and the larch, in, and I also did put the other English elm over in that far corner. So in total we've got 8 trees that I've planted this morning. I mean, the reason why I didn't keep them in the containers is because I only really need 1 reference plant, and that'll be this English elm, which I know is a lot healthier than the other one. So I think we can compare it to the growth that this one's got. As you can see at the moment, we've got 1 main branch going. So we'll see what happens with that one, and we'll watch with bated breath what happens with these. So on the count of 3, 2, 1, I'll hand over to me. Well, it's the 17th of May, and let's be honest, the ground planting stuff is just throwing on loads and loads of growth, as you'd expect. I'm very, very confident that so long as I keep the weeds down, this is going to turn out to be a great result, and I'm really looking forward to seeing just how much root development we get in spring next year. But do I tend to do any pruning or anything? Of course not. I want more solar panels for more roots so that I can get the results that I want quicker. But I tell you what, what's the comparison already between one that's in the ground and the one that we kept in the pot? Should we have a look? Now, strangely enough, I sort of assumed that throw something into the ground and it's going to thrive, and this is, if we look at it, it's the one that I decided to put into the ground, and I think we've got lots and lots of copious new growth, certainly from the trunk, not a lot of extensions on the main branches. So interesting, and well, let's have a look and see the one that remained in the pot. There it is. Well, I think what we can say is that they're probably of a similar sort of size. Certainly a lot more growth, a lot more new shoots on the one that's in the ground, but equally this one, I suggest, has got larger leaves on the extensions. Well, guess what? It's 30th of June now. It's what, 5 weeks later, and I've just been finished weeding the bed, and there's actually a reasonable amount of growth, and I just thought I'd show you again. We'll do the comparison. This is the one that we've kept in the bucket, And I think, well, if we compare it to the two similar ones, we're probably going to argue that there may not even be much difference. Let's have a look close up. So this is the one that's in the ground. Oh, it's nice to feel though. I've had a good feel on it, and it's nice and solid in there. It's got a few more shoots and everything coming round. But the main thing is I'm glad to feel how solid it is in there, and all of these that I've gone round are like that. I suppose size comparison wise, again, I'd say a bit like I said 5 weeks ago, we haven't seen any big, vast shooting out of growth. What I will say is this one is really only concentrated on the growth on the main shoot here. Nothing really, but a couple of little ones down here which I will need to remove. Whereas this one has obviously put on a lot of growth and lots of extra shoots from down low. So that's probably the only real difference I'd see there, but clearly a lot of its energy I think has gone into anchoring those roots in place, because as I say, that is definitely firmly held in place. Should we have a look at the other one? I think what's absolutely brilliant to see though is this one beside it, the small leaf lime, the linden. That is definitely putting on a lot more growth. Got some droopiness at the leaf end, so that suggests that it needs to get a bit more water, so I do need to keep that watered. But interestingly enough, this English Elm, again I can feel it very firmly rooted. In fact, that's an interesting thing to bring out here. I've just given that a little shove test, and it doesn't move. The actual linden, it's still solid, but I can feel a little bit of sway in the trunk. So again, less energy's probably gone into the roots, more into the vascular structure on the leaf mass. Which, hey, that's interesting, isn't it? But more to the point, now this has had a lot more growth, and again, for comparison purposes, I mean there's loads and loads of growth that's come on. And I would definitely suggest that for this one, a lot more vigour. And probably the biggest difference you'll say straight away is you'll say, hey, hang on a minute, that trunk is about 3 times the size, so I would suggest it had a lot more stored energy in there anyway. So if you look at the one directly beside it, similar trunk thickness to this one, we've definitely had more growth, so that one's done better already, and also bigger leaves, so that's definitely pushing out for more energy capturing. Well, believe it or not, we're 12th, 13th September, so we're a good 3 months further on in this experiment, and you know what, wow is what I say. There's been some quite amazing growth, and you know, I'd love to be able to give, well, these are so solid in the ground, they have definitely rooted. But remember, what I wanted to do was do the control experiment. So this is one of the English elms, which you know, and I think the last time you saw it, the leaves were this colour. Well, it's already going into autumn as far as it's concerned. So how's it actually comparing to its brothers and sisters that are planted down? I don't think you need to be a rocket science to work out that this, which is the same age as this one, and believe it or not, this one, but I think this one has decided I've done enough for 2024, leave me alone until 2025. It's preparing for winter, I think. Certainly this is autumn colours. Whereas these two English elms are saying, rock on, we've got loads to give you. There's loads of leaves, there's loads of growth, and growth means certainly healing on scars, and also branch thickening, root development, loads of good stuff. And that's what this is all about. So I'm feeling absolutely stoked. Only thing really, next time we're going to see this, well, I suppose it's going to be early spring when, well, I suppose I ought to dig them up and get them ready to pot on with all these great results we've had. So, with that in mind, I think I'm going to enjoy Christmas, come back and see you again in the spring when I think I'm going to be lit.
Doesn't he have a home to go to?
I think you're missing the point a little bit, mate.
I think I'm missing the fact that you're in my garden. What are you doing here, Jelle?
I just saw the video and I just had to interrupt. Now, if I look at these plants, yeah, this looks really nice. Bed thinking it's full, but also it's a little hungry. Get some fertilizer. I told you before. But you want to lift these in spring. Why?
Well, I watched your video.
Yeah.
And it showed that, you know, you get good root development, and then you can lift them. You have to cut them back so the roots don't get too long, so then you get branching from your roots. So what I don't want these to go miles out the other way.
But these are elms, right?
Yeah.
And it has grown. When did you plant these up?
This spring.
This spring. So it has 1 year, right? And the first year tree normally would take developing roots. Now if we look here at this tree, right? This is a cherry.
Yeah.
You see here at the bottom, this is roughly in spring, it grew these out and it was a little bit struggling with the roots. Over summer all of a sudden decided it started to grow. Now what do you think would happen if next year it would stay in place?
They'll continue to grow stronger and bigger.
So to get a real effect, leave it at least 2 years in place. For 1 year, you just get the roots established.
Right.
And I think in my video I say I do it every second year I lift them, but that is if I get really good growth, and otherwise I'll just leave it another year.
So don't get too excited by the fact that I've had some positive results. Actually give the tree a chance to say, I'm really liking it in here, and throw out more growth.
Take advantage of that it is liking it and just let this linden tree grow 2 meters next year. And you'll get these branches that size if it is happy.
Oh,
Hey, but that's just me. Do what you want. I'm off again. Bye bye.
Where's Germany?
and do you know what? Sometimes having the surprise visit of a Jelle in your garden, all the way from Germany, it's better than having bugs and aphids and all that, because it's like this positive macrobiotic stuff or whatever. Because he's done something good for me. He's done me a favour, and I hope you've all worked out what it was. Don't get too excited by the initial great results. Yes, rejoice in them, but don't think, wow, I'm going to dig it out because it's worked. It's just started. And he raised a good point. Year one, I'm just putting my roots in. Year two, I'm going to use all that energy and shoot loads of growth out.
Exactly right, Xavier. Remember, year one is roots. Year two is shoots.
The last time you saw this was Jelle leaving. So, shall we find out just how they're looking at the beginning of year two? But in fact, before we have a look and see where they're at year two, why don't we go back to November? Because that incredible linden that Jelle saw and was talking about, it finally in November started to yellow off, and you can see there from the leaves there, still very, very happy for that time of the year. Really, really looking forward to showing you what it's looking like right now, to be honest. And indeed, if you have a look, there's a larch that's sitting behind me in November. The main shoot on that, the apical dominance of these trees, is really shown out to be so true. You've got the yellows and the greens. Clearly, this is a tree that's starting to pull back all its energy, like the linden, out of the leaves or out of the needles, and taking them back into the root system of the tree, ready for the colder winter. And in fact, it was only a few weeks after that we got our first really, really early snow. And as you can see, the nursery bed's absolutely snowbound. So that brings us forward now. Here we are, March, and the sun is beating down, and some of these buds are starting to open up. So we're going to follow Jelle's advice. Remember, year one is all about roots. We're starting year two. Does that mean I can do anything different? Well, let's have a look and see, first of all, how they're looking. I mean, the larch here is looking incredible, but look, this is the growth that we've had coming up. We've had, is that nearly, probably 2.5, 3 foot of growth that came as a result of putting it straight in the ground. And in fact, in comparison, this one was put in a pond basket at the same time. And we've had, is that a foot? Well, no, probably not. That's nearer 3 inches maybe? 3 inches versus 3 foot. That's a pretty compelling argument for a growing bed in just 1 year. And in fact, even with the impressive results of the Japanese larch, looking here, the European hornbeam, which I put in as a last minute decision, we've got such long growth, and it is going to look absolutely fantastic when that gets pulled up. It's still quite solid in the ground. In fact, all of these, when you give them a shake with your hand, nice and solid in there. There's so much more growth, and in some cases like this cherry, probably twice as much as than I normally get when it's in the little pot. This one is going to recover. The wounds that it's got that I want healing, that can happen now, because I'm going to let these grow out. As Jelle said, for the linden, I want this to grow out another 4, 5 feet if possible. I only have to do one thing, but you won't hear about that in this video, unfortunately. But it might have something to do with a few odd branches that may not play such a crucial role. And here we've got the linden with loads of extensions and growth. And again, I've got a big wound here. That is going to get healing if I allow these to really go out sort of 3, 4 feet. all again. I just want to make sure that where I've got 3s, I just reduce them to 2s, because what I don't want to do is, while they're getting all this extra energy in the ground, is create new problems as a result of all that energy they're getting. Because if I let 2s become 3s, become 4s, we are going to get some major swelling in places that we don't want it. So in fact, how does this one compare with a linden that was repotted in a brown plastic pot at the same time? Well, there you go. In terms of the growth there, probably half. I would suggest half the sort of growth that we've got on these ones. It's still great. It just means that already I can see that the development time for this in comparison to this is at least half. But interestingly, both of these were recovered at the same time. So, yeah, again, incredible results. You can see the difference. This, though, is much easier to control and to limit potential future scarring and damage, where this you've really got to stay on top of. But you'll see more of that in the year 2 video. And then clearly we come through here, we've got 2 of the English Elms here, and we've got the same sort of results. Rather than long extensions, we've got quite a long extension of about 2 foot here. This one, probably half the extension size, but again, it's only directed into the one direction, and it's limited by what it can get from the soil itself. And as Jelle pointed out, it looked a bit yellow, probably because I hadn't been feeding it. Well, I've sorted that out. I've got a big bag of commercial fertilizer which I'm going to be using on all my trees, and yeah, there's still just a little bit of give in this. So the only thing I've got to decide is, what do I do first thing in spring? Well, I'm sorry, you won't find that out at least for another year, because my intention is to show this as a development series over 1, 2, 3, 4 years, in fact until I decide to dig them up. So for those of you who are really interested in this project and want to see how it develops, great time to make sure you're subscribed, and more importantly hit bell notifications, because you can be subscribed, but if you decide not to watch a few videos, YouTube decides you don't like the channel and they don't show it to you anymore. And we've got busy lives, we forget what channels we like. So do hit the bell notifications and we can see how these progress, because I'll keep doing the comparison. In fact, with all 3 of those trees that I showed you, I think it goes for me to say, and I think anyone who's thinking about, shall I put something in the ground, the answer is yes. It's the beginning of March. Dig yourself a nice little patch, even if you've only got a little 1 foot or 2 foot square here. Just get 1 or 2 of your trees, whack them onto a slate like I did with these, and then leave them for the year. And when we get to 1 year later, hopefully you're going to see the same sort of results as me. So anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed that. And of course, a massive thanks to Jelle of Growing Bonsai. He's got some fantastic videos about how he deals with his field grown material and his growing beds. Loads of stuff. There'll be something in the description about that. And all I can say is, if you want to see the process that I went through to recover these English Elms, again, Jelle featured in that one, an incredible Yamadori video. It's right there. Best watch it, because you've got a year until you're going to see anything else from this. Apart from that, happy bonsaiing. God bless. Cheers.